me and him, and now we've got 2 sites. We just kept pushing, and then almost like we got to a 3rd site, and quite frankly, from a business perspective, I wouldn't consider us successful at 2 sites.
A little bit of sense to somebody who's like super high risk, we're going to take the leap, right? Welcome to Beyond the Hustle. I'm your host, Corey Barkoch, and we have our special guest here today, Dr. Miller with Miller Veins.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much.
Tell me a little bit about Miller Vein before we get started, so I guess I have an idea of who you are and what you kind of do.
Well, as the name implies, we specialize in vein disease. So we take care of varicose veins and spider veins. We also specialize in lymphatic medicine. So we take care of things like lymphedema, lipedema, basically swelling of the legs.
So did you wake up one day and you said, hey, I'm going to treat veins, or like how did you get into this? Because it seems pretty like specific. Like
it's very, very subspecialized. When I tell people about my path, my journey, I always say that every step along the way, whatever happened, like the path found me, I didn't find it. So I was an interventional radiologist in a large hospital system. It was 1999. This really cool device gets FDA approval to close down a vein inside your leg. And it's the vein that causes varicose veins. And the hospital I was at, they were very slow on buying anything new technology. So we asked for this device because it was relatively cheap. They bought it for us. And the funny thing is, we get this device. My best friend and I were actually co-directors of the vascular and interventional radiology department. So we have our very first patient on the table, ready to go. And we look at each other and we're like, okay, who wants to do this procedure? And he says, you just go ahead and do it. I later found out I was the very first physician in the state of Michigan to do a radiofrequency ablation of a vein. Yeah. It was kind of funny. I didn't know. I didn't find out until years later. And that's not to brag. It just means I'm really old. So I started doing veins in this hospital setting. It didn't take a rocket scientist to realize this doesn't belong in a hospital setting. So for years, I tried to convince this large radiology group that I worked for to open up a vein clinic, have me run the vein clinic. We can see our interventional radiology patients there, but we can develop a subspecialized clinic. And, I tried convincing them for many years. And then finally, I think it was my wife just got tired of hearing me complain that they weren't going to buy in. So she says, well, why don't you just quit? Go on your own. So I quit. I gave my 90-day notice, and then everything just opened up right after that.
What was the plan did you have like a plan when you quit, or was it kind of just like I'm just gonna do this myself, I don't care?
The best time to quit a stable job, is when you have a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old daughter, and you're going through a really terrible house move. So that's what I did.
Cool.
All my colleagues said I was absolutely out of my mind. But I had just reached that point where it's like, I got to do this. And no, I had no plan. I knew that I could treat veins, and the procedures were easy. As an interventional radiologist, we're like plumbers, and the procedures that fix the veins, really easy for an IR. So basically, I gave my 90 days, and I had 90 days to figure it out.
What'd your wife say? Was she like...
What's funny is when she reflects on it, she's like, she's not the type of person to just like spontaneously jump off and do something crazy like that. So she's like, I don't know what I was thinking at the time.
Was she working with you, or?
No.
Okay.
No, she was
just like, yeah, let's do it.
She said, go ahead. And, she was taking care of the kids full time. And yeah, it was kind of crazy. But here's the funny thing. And I love the people that I used to work with. There are a lot of great people, but it was a weird thing. You've seen the movie The Firm or read the book The Firm? Mm-hmm. All right, you got to read it. It's basically in The Firm. If you retire, you expire. That you're done. And it was a law firm. In this radiology practice, if you quit, you were banished to the hospital that nobody wanted to work at. And I really hope that none of my previous coworkers end up listening to this. But I got banished to this hospital that nobody wanted to go. And instead of doing interventional radiology, which is my passion, so procedures, cool stuff, I had to go back and just read films. So it's considered kind of boring for me. But I'm thinking, I got 90 days to deal with this. And quite honestly,
Oh, say literally, you're like, I'm done. Like, okay, cool, go over here and watch movies.
Well,
or like films.
yeah, and it was work. So it was like, you have to go, it wasn't, and the funny thing is, it wasn't like they said, oh, you're going to go get banished. But everybody that never quit, you had to give 90 days, and then you always got banished to a hospital that nobody really wanted to work at. The funny thing was, being a general radiologist, it's like a 9 to 5 job, 8 to 5 job. Your hours are very consistent. You're not doing procedures which could run way into overtime. Mm-hmm. So quite honestly, I was like, this is actually kind of an easy gig. This is no big deal. And I just went to work with a smile on my face every day and was just going to say, hey, I'm just going to enjoy it. This isn't going to bother me. Funny thing is, a few days into my banishment, I get a call. And it was a girl that my brother knew from college. She says, Jeff, I noticed your name on a radiology report. Do you know anybody looking for some part-time radiology work? And I said, Pina, it was interesting that you called. I just quit. And yeah, I could use a part-time radiology job because I'm planning on opening up a vein clinic. In fact, I don't have a space. So months later, I was working in Pina's radiology clinic and started my vein clinic there. So that was in Los
You started your clinic in there?
Yeah.
Cool.
And the funniest thing was she was in this U of M subspecialty building. It's on right next to Costco on Haggerty. Okay, Haggerty 8 Mile Road. Never forget this. So U of M subspecialty clinic, all these other U of M practices. Well, the U of M vein clinic was there. And then I moved into her radiology clinic, which was called Contemporary Imaging. So now my vein clinic is inside her office, but it's inside the same medical office building as another vein clinic. And they got our mail. They weren't really happy.
Yeah,
this vein clinic moved in. But the good news is, I think it was about 6 months later, we were able to grow the vein practice enough that I didn't need to keep working as a part-time. And then we moved, found a site in Novi. And it was, things just fell into place. So the Novi location, it was a new medical office. We could do a full build-up to our specifications. But they actually had a site on the first floor where a radiology practice left. It wasn't built out to our needs, but it was so much nicer than what we were used to. In fact, what we were used to was like a 12 by 12 room. So this is getting back to the Livonia clinic, 12 by 12 room. When I made the agreement to move in there, I didn't understand why there was a bath curtain on the wall. It didn't dawn on me to look behind and see why is there a bath curtain on a wall? That's where all their electrical work was sitting. So I'm like, okay, well, we can't use this as a medical office with a bathroom, a curtain. So we take that down. A buddy of mine is great with building and stuff. So he takes all the electrical work, shoves it in the ceiling. Now we've got a hole in the wall.
Nice. Everyone likes a hole in the wall.
Yeah. I mean, nice that nothing says, hey, I'm in a good medical office, like a hole in the wall. Mm-hmm. So we got a table, and then on top of where we stored all of our equipment was actually like a Lowe's table. Right now, that table, her cabinet, I should say, resides in somebody's garage. But then on top of that table cabinet, we put an IKEA painting, and it covered up the hole. And we made it look like a medical office. We were right next to the bathroom. Every time somebody opened and closed the door, it felt like, a volcano was erupting. It was awful. Not only that, but with the table, the exam table that we moved in there, the only place we could position it where I could actually do what I needed to do was literally right under a vent. And the worst thing that you can do if you're trying to put a catheter in a vein is have cold air blowing on the person's leg. So there were a lot of challenges, but like I said, 6 months later, we were doing well enough to go full time and everything worked out.
Cool. How do your customers in the beginning with all those challenges?
This is so funny.
or patients, right?
Here's what I thought. I was moving from what used to be called Oakwood Hospital, and I was in Dearborn. And I'm thinking, Dearborn, Livonia, it's not too far. I know all these doctors are going to be referring me a ton of patients. This is like easy peasy. And yes, I did get referrals, but you know what? Going from Dearborn to Livonia, people weren't really all that interested in making that trip. So I didn't get a ton of referrals, but I got some. And then I'll never forget, I put an advertisement in the Detroit Free Press. And I remember, oh yes, yes sir. So I remember we had a real phone. You don't have any phones here, like a real phone, the plug-in kind. It has a cord. You haven't seen those? Okay. So I'll never forget this. We put this ad in the Free Press, and we're like staring at the phone, waiting for it to ring. And eventually we didn't get many patients from that. And then I'll never forget the yellow pages. Maria, I'm telling you, what a salesperson. She comes into the office and she's trying to sell me on advertising in the yellow pages. And this is a long time ago, but I still remember her looking at me in the eye and saying, advertising is only expensive if it doesn't work. Boom. So I advertise in the yellow pages, and it was expensive, and it didn't work. So she was right. Advertising is expensive if it doesn't work. And it was just over time. We just eventually, people knew about us. Mm-hmm. We start getting patients start telling their friends and family, so on and so forth. By the time we got into the nicer office, now we're in a medical office building where there are other potential referring doctors. Little by little, we start doing more advertising. Eventually, we created a physician liaison team. So basically salespeople that go and call on other doctors and say, hey, send your patients to Miller Vein. This is what we do, blah, blah, blah.
Cool. Yeah. You go from carving people up in the closet. I'm just kidding. You go from this,
not far from that.
You go from this little space to an office, and now you guys have six locations?
Six
right?
locations.
And an administrative building. So what is that? What was like the biggest leap that got you from like, hey, I have a job, I'm just going to quit and figure it out. You kind of get lucky. I mean, you're looking for an opportunity, but you get lucky, you kind of get put in this spot. That allows you to kind of leverage and like have a place to do work and get your own space. Then how do you get from 1 to 6? Like what's been the biggest, like, was there like a defining moment? Or is it just like a lot of hustle and consistency and like showing up? Like what has been your key to success in that?
It's kind of an all of the above. And actually, when I reflect back, I always love the saying, ready, fire, aim. So I opened up a second clinic when I wasn't really even, we were in a successful single clinic, and I was already pushing to get a second clinic. And it was actually comical how I hired the next doctor. So Steve Wong, great guy, interventional radiologist. I tried to recruit him when I was an interventional radiologist in the hospital, but he went to a different hospital. So I failed my first time recruiting him. Second time, I give him a call, and we just start catching up. And the next thing I hear is, bam! And Steve says, Jeff, can I call you back? I just got rear-ended. Like, so he got in a car accident. You would have thought he dropped his pencil on the floor. So calm, so relaxed. Anyway, so I told him what's going on. You want to. He was doing veins at one of the competing hospitals. I was able to recruit him, and then now it's me and him, and now we've got 2 sites. And then we just kept pushing, and then almost like we got to a 3rd site, and quite frankly, from a business perspective, I wouldn't consider us successful at 2 sites. We pushed to a 3rd site in Dearborn. Eventually, we started
kind of got part like, hey, as soon as it like made it
a little bit
of sense to somebody who's like super high risk, we're gonna take a leap, right?
Yeah.
Kind of, and then we'll figure it out. Like it seems like I'm not like that. Seems like kind of what the story's been. It's like, hey, quit my job, we'll figure it out, and then he figured it out. It's like, all right, I trust myself. Let's do it again. Let's do it again. Let's do it again.
Yeah, and all along the way, I always say, to anybody that will listen to me, I say over and over and over, leaders are readers. So I read every single morning. And, although I have no formal business background at all, no business training, in retrospect, I really wish that anybody that's pre-med, that they were forced during undergrad to take some business classes. I think everybody should get that background. But anyway, I was always constantly reading, and then I would just implement. I would read something. Oh, that sounds cool. Let's try this. I just keep. Oh my gosh!
Where are you reading now?
Well, it's funny. I am doing this. I'm going back and rereading, and in fact, Colin over here and the rest of my leadership team, we just I reread for some of them. It was a first time read. The book Decisive. Have you read that book by the Heath brothers?
I'll check it out.
I will tell you, anything by the Heath brothers is outstanding. I'm not getting paid to advertise for them, but if they do end up listening to this, I'm not opposed to that. Their books are fantastic, but it's funny. Just Decisive. The book is really about how to make better decisions, and it's fantastic.
Yeah, how to say no and stuff, how to say yes, what to say yes to.
Well, what they have is they're both great at educating, and they tell wonderful stories. So there's always examples, but they tie things up with a mnemonic, an acronym. So they have the WRAP process, WRAP. So widen your options, and they give examples of that. So often we think of this decision as a yes, no, or it's an either or, when in point of fact, it should be in hand. So there's a lot of, reality test your assumptions, attain distance before you decide. That I will tell you, whenever I've done that, even just by accident, it's like, whoa, taking your time and making a decision after you've thought through it is so helpful. So prepare to be wrong is the P. And it's nice you think about what would things look like if this was a disaster, and then you can prepare for that. Or what would things look like if it was fantastic and was really successful? What do you need to prepare for? Tough to summarize a book in a couple sentences, but gosh, great.
What's your? We talked about it a little bit. Like you guys have ran on a structure of BOS or something different now, right? But like, so do you guys have where do you sit in the accountability chart, or do you guys have something like that? Like, what is your title nowadays? Like, what's your day to day?
So, I'm the CEO.
Yeah.
And then in terms of the accountability chart, I'm the visionary.
Okay, that's what I figured.
That means I get to throw spaghetti against the wall, come up with ideas. Colin
open locations before we're ready.
Exactly. But I have surrounded I'll tell you what. You had asked, how did you become successful? And then, I always push back, what's the definition of success? And I love what Sean Anker, and he wrote the book, The Happiness Advantage. Did you ever read that?
Nope.
I'm going to give you my afterward.
Just send me an email with the books. I'll agree. I read books. Yeah. You've read more books than me. You're older.
I am older. Actually, my gosh, you're only 35. Yeah. I just realized that, like, you're a kid. Yeah. You're a kid. Yeah. And I used to have just so you know, I used to have a full head of hair like you too.
You still got a lot of hair. You're all right.
Thank you. let's see, where was it? Oh, so happiness advantage. So Sean Anker, in fact, there's an awesome TED talk that he gave like over a decade ago. And anyway, he says people that are successful, the way to become successful is be happy first. I mean, and I get a chance to talk to high school students on a regular basis. And, I try to preach to them, like, don't say, oh, if I ace this test, I'll be happy. And then if I get this into this college, I'll be happy. If I get this job, I'll be happy, et cetera, because you're going to keep moving at the goalposts.
Yeah,
and you're never going to be happy.
Some of the gap in the game, same. I don't know if
yes, I did.
Same concept.
Awesome book.
Right? Like, let's not measure where we're supposed to be. Let's measure where we were.
Yes.
And how far we've come.
Yeah.
And it's a lot easier to live
so much
that life than like, always chasing. It's stressful. Like,
yeah.
Stressful.
So for me, yeah, I would say I'm successful because going to work is a blast.
Yeah, I can tell you have fun.
It is just so much fun. I'm surrounded by just great people. And so we've got a leadership team, and every single seat there, they're rock stars. They're all super smart. They all have their own little gift. And then we've got over 70 employees, and it's just so much fun I love walking into the office and just seeing people doing their thing, smiling, having fun, and helping people. They love to help people. One thing that we recently started doing is taking our office managers for an offsite once a quarter, because they're really in charge of each. We've got a 6-quarter meeting. Exactly. And we had our second one yesterday, actually. It was awesome.
Yeah, we just started. We do them offsite too, same thing. Like,
and we've been doing that forever for the leadership team, but now we're doing it for this is for all the office managers, and we've got a very robust meeting schedule. But our meetings are great. Like, to me, meetings are where magic happens. They're not boring. We're there to discuss and solve problems and look for opportunities.
Cool. So do you have in Miller Vein? Is there like a bigger strategy that you can share on the podcast without giving away any secrets? Like, do you plan on opening more locations? Like, what's your vision? Like, what are you trying to? Is the business where you want it? Are you trying to take it further? Like, I mean, obviously you're happy, but like, those visionary tendencies start kicking in, and it's always like bigger, right? Tends to usually be a thing.
So I'll never forget my oldest daughter. Let's see, I think she was either 10, 11, 12, somewhere around there. I was coaching her softball team. And I had literally just started Miller Vein. And I told her, I said, Rachel, in 10 years, Miller Vein's going to be up to 100 sites. I have to laugh because, I mean, I'm a little short, right? 6, 100. But I haven't, that goal is still in the back of my mind. And really, if you're going to still have this podcast in a few years, give me a call.
We'll come
back. Yeah. And we'll see if
I have 4 locations.
Better not be. It better be. I'd love to see 10x in 3 years. And I think the thing is, so we grew. We weren't really ready. Now we're really focusing on running a business like a business.
Yeah, for sure.
And we've got so many things in place, cool reports where we can actually see, if we do this happens. And so I think the levers are all starting to work. We've got a very engaged group of people working. I mean, if you go on our website, you see we won a bunch of awards.
What's that website? What is that?
MillerVein.com.
Okay.
Hey, thanks for asking. If you have varicose veins, spider veins, leg swelling, come to Miller Vein.
My mom had varicose veins. Sorry, Mom. she was pregnant. Yeah. So, my grandpa has them too. I think my grandpa has them. I'm probably have them.
So I was just going to say,
can I get a buy one get one if I get them in both legs? Hey, Special discount promo code of the podcast.
We're doing
BOGO offers at Miller Veins this week.
We'll roll out the red carpet.
Oh yeah, that's funny, man. Well, what other words of wisdom do you have? Can you share? Like, if you, I guess I'm barely framing the question a bit better. Um, when did Miller Vein start?
2006.
So if you go back to 2006, um, and tell yourself any piece of advice, what would it be? It's been 19 years now, right? 19
Yeah,
years.
almost. In fact, it'll be in September. It'll be.
Would you change anything, or or
I don't think I would change anything. The funny thing is I took a hiatus from really focusing on the business for 7 years. And my wife tells me I was a full-time softball coach, a part-time vein doc. Um, and that was during a phase where I could have really focused on growing the practice. Um, and yeah, my daughters and I have some hardware together. In other words, we won some trophies and we had a lot of fun. Oh my gosh, tons of fun. But it's funny when I look back on that, I wonder, okay, had I focused on the business and especially putting it through that decisive process, the decision making, and just said, you know what, instead of spending thousands of hours reading how to coach girls softball, I could have still played catch with my daughters every day. I could have practiced hitting with them, et cetera, et cetera. Could have gone to all their games. Still could have been a great dad, and hopefully my girls think of a great dad. But I could have still focused on running a business, and so I feel like I lost 7 years. But at the same time,
yeah, but
everybody says, "Oh, those memories you can't put a dollar figure on that or anything." So, big picture, no. And I'm also not one to kind of look in the rear view mirror and like, what? Actually, my mom, may she rest in peace. She was always a would have, could have, should have person. She would buy a couch, order a couch, and then that night she couldn't fall asleep. Oh, should we get that couch? And then she'd cancel the drive. Like, oh, she would always say would have, could have, should have. So I love my mom dearly, but I always try to not be the would have, could have, should have guy.
well, you have any events coming up at Miller Vein, or any involvement in anything?
It's funny, as I was driving over here, you're right around the corner from the Assistance League. Are you familiar with the Assistance League?
Uh,
They do amazing work. So
every question you've asked me, I'm like, no, dude.
that's okay. We could have done some prep work together. I should have
home all day and play video games.
So the Assistance League does amazing charity work. They're a volunteer organization. They have this yearly event called Operation School Belt. And actually, when I say yearly, it's not like it's a one-time event. I think 6 per year. And what they do is they get all kinds of clothing and books, toiletries, jackets, et cetera, donated. And they basically take over an elementary school's gym or junior high, middle school, and set up a store for little kids that are poor and have like nothing. And so we participate with the Assistance League. We close down our offices. Actually, my staff, it's the favorite thing that we do all year. Close the offices. We set up this store. And then once the store's set up, we take each little kid. And buses of kids at school are brought from around the area. And, it's very humbling. You take these kids and they're so appreciative, their first winter jacket in Michigan, right? Or a kid said, "It's my first toothbrush." It's heartbreaking, and at the same time, these kids seem so happy, and they're so optimistic, and it's really you walk out of there and you're very appreciative for what you have, and you also feel like you've really done something special. So yeah, Assistance League, they're right around the corner.
Those are really cool. Yeah,
check them out. And Operation School Bell. So that'll be in the fall. And you know what? We are planning in the near future, taking everybody in the company to Top Golf and just having some fun.
Cool. Golf's pretty fun. It's like,
Well, I know, and you're a golfer.
well, big. You don't have to go with golf, but how well? That's why it's fun. Right? Just drinking.
Maybe you could stop by
Yeah,
and you
let me know.
could give me some lessons.
Sure.
I do want to start playing golf. I
Yeah,
have to
we'll
take
go.
that up.
I'm not as I'm like a recovering golfer. Like I used to golf. I'm becoming a golfer again. So,
Did you actually play in high school?
No, I played like yeah, maybe a little bit but I played after high school. I just used to play every day, whatever. Part time, play golf.
Nice.
Yeah, it was fun. Now I'm a dad. Now I'm old.
By definition, you are not old, my friend. You not, no.
It's disgusting.
You shouldn't say disgusting in the same phrase. If your wife is listening, you are in trouble, dude.
Yeah, I'm always in trouble. It's okay.
Actually, it's funny. One of my employees who's been with me for super long time, his dad, funniest guy, Denny, if you're listening, he would come home from work at the end of the day, and the first thing he would say when he'd walk into the house to his wife, I'm sorry. Whatever I did, I'm sorry. So he'd apologize on the front end, and you know, they've been happily married forever.
Yeah.
So just keep that one in mind, especially if, you know, that disgusting comment comes out. The power of editing is...
I just walk in and yeah, it's just kids running and yeah, it's immediate playtime. outside. I'm like, all right, here we go.
Well, you know what? If you...
It's not bad. It's cool. Like, it's fun.
If your daughter decides to play softball, I'm your guy. I can help with coaching.
I'll talk to her today. She's like 4 months old, so I'll ask her if she wants to
Yeah. You know, pretty soon.
Yeah.
Now's the time to get her. Actually,
Do you still coach softball?
No, well, no, but it's funny. Just before I left to come here, my wife was talking to our niece, and her husband coaches a baseball team, and they're going to be missing their assistant coach this upcoming weekend. I haven't even looked at my calendar yet, but I got the offer, so I might be coaching first base for baseball this weekend. Admittedly, I know there's similarities.
Handle it?
Oh, I can handle it. Yeah, heck yeah.
There's some.
That's for you, Colin. Heck yeah. No, I'm so that might be. I hope I get to do it. It'll be fun.
Cool, man.
Yeah,
cool. Is there anything else that you want to mention?
Yeah. So you know, you asked about expansion. So right now, leadership team, myself, we are laser focused on really finally scaling. In fact, within a couple of weeks, we're going out to Grand Rapids. We're going to start looking at sites there. The population density and the demographics, et cetera, are fantastic for a vein clinic. So we plan on opening a couple of vein clinics in the Grand Rapids area. And now we're really planning on putting the pedal to the metal and really expanding. And like I said, I'd like to come back in 3 years. I hope that we're like 10x from now. That's
cool. That'd be cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
So that's it.
All right. Well, thanks for being on. Give a little shout. So the website's Miller Vein.
Yeah, millervein.com.
How does someone get a hold of you if they need help? They just go on your site, fill out a contact form, or
Absolutely. Yeah, we've got if you want to self-schedule, you can do that. If you want us to call you, we'll call you. I'll tell you what, everybody that comes to Miller Vein, they're just so happy that they came there. They tell us it's not like any other medical practice. Like everybody's happy. They're greeted with a smile. Right. Everybody really just takes care of them. It's like Cheers. You know, you walk into Cheers bar. Now we're not serving alcohol, but everyone's like, you know, it's like where everybody knows your name. You know, everybody. It's just a great place. So yeah,
cool. Thanks for being on.
Thanks for having me.
Looking forward to the 10x in 3 years.